15. For those that have not had the pleasure of being at a meeting before, first of all, we ask that you silence your cell phones so they don't go off during the meeting. Second of all, the way the agenda works is once we do the roll call, we then approve the minutes from the last meeting, and then we take each item one at a time. What happens is the city staff presents on an item, and then it is open just to the commission to ask technical questions. Once we're done with those questions, we open it up to the members of the audience to speak if you so desire. If you do choose to speak on an item, we ask that you step up to the microphone over there, state your name and your address so we have it for the minutes. And also, please try to keep your comments as germane to the topic as possible. Once everybody who has desired to speak has had the chance to do so, we come back to the commission for a discussion and then a vote, and then we move on to the next item. So with that, let's call the roll.
David Gorsuch. Ed Bowen.
Here.
Jeffrey Tomes. Tom Wojciech.
Here.
John Hintz.
Here.
Steve Cummings.
Here.
Kathleen Kopp. Gary Gray.
Here.
Donald Free. Robert Weigert.
Here.
Carl Nollenberg.
Here.
Okay. Now let's move on to the approval of the minutes from May 3rd. Do we have any corrections or additions, deletions, anything?
Motion to approve.
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'd like to thank Deb, the Recording Secretary, for preparing good minutes. You know, I mean, there's 14 pages of minutes, and that's long.
There was a lot of talking.
Long minutes. You know, I mean.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you,
Second.
Deb.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to item number 1, accept sidewalk, traffic signal, and conduit easements at intersection of Oshkosh Avenue and North Westfield Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
The City of Oshkosh is requesting acceptance of 3 easements for the installation of sidewalk, traffic pedestrian signals, and conduits. Here is the subject site, which consists of 4 privately owned properties located at the intersection of Oshkosh Avenue and North Westfield Street, and the general area consists of commercial and residential uses. The city's engineering division has been working with property owners adjacent to construction projects to obtain easements for the installation of sidewalk, traffic pedestrian signals, and related equipment. The easements are necessary in order to allow the city to construct ADA-compliant handicap ramps and crosswalks, and the improvements are related to the reconstruction of North Westfield Street. The easements are necessary to allow for installation of poles, bases, and conduit on private property and include sidewalk installation to improve the crosswalk alignments. And here's a copy of the easement document. And staff recommends approval of the acceptance of the proposed easements as requested.
All right, any technical questions? Yes, Gary?
I'm just curious, is there any reason or reasons why we could say no to this? Because it's a ADA compliant thing. Is there any reason that there is that we can say no to an ADA compliant request? Okay, I was just curious. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Once? Twice? Back to the commission?
Move for approval. Second.
By Bob, second by Gary. Any discussion on the motion? All right, call the roll.
Gray.
Gary?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, aye.
Weigert.
Aye.
Nollenberger.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Hintz.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Wojciech.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, let's move on to item number 2. Accept sidewalk access and facilities easements at the intersection of Arboretum Drive, Congress Avenue, and Summit Avenue.
Thank you. The city is requesting acceptance of 3 easements for installation of sidewalk, traffic and pedestrian signals, and related equipment. The subject site, which is shown here, consists of 3 privately owned properties located at the intersection of Arboretum Drive, Congress Avenue, and Summit Avenue. And as with the previous item, the easements are for installation of sidewalk, traffic pedestrian signals, and related equipment, and are necessary to allow for the city to construct ADA-compliant handicap ramps and crosswalks. And the ramp and crosswalk improvements have been requested by the city's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And the primary purpose of the proposed easements is to document existing verbal agreements with property owners for installation of poles, bases, and conduit on private property, which have been expanded to include sidewalk installation to improve the crosswalk alignments. And here's the easement document. And staff recommends approval of the acceptance of the proposed easements as requested.
Technical, oh, I'm sorry, Darren.
And just let me get to one note, what Gary had asked before. If we don't acquire the easement for it, then we'd have to actually acquire the property, so you'd have to go through that process. With this process, we're simply acquiring an easement, a needed easement from the property owner versus an outright acquisition. So I think that's, we can go either course.
Okay, thank you.
Technical questions from the commission? Seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? All right, back to the commission.
Move for approval?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Gray,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
And Nolan.
You missed Carl.
Sorry, I missed Carl.
Aye.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right. Moving on to item number 3, residential design standards variance request to permit a front addition at 1112 Arthur Avenue.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance from the city's residential design standards to permit an addition on the front street side of the home at 1112 Arthur Avenue. The subject property is a residential lot containing a one-story, single-family residential structure and is located on the 1100 block of Arthur Avenue. The neighborhood and general area contains predominantly single and two-family uses, which are similar in style and scale to the subject property. And here's an aerial view of the subject site. The Plan Commission is authorized to grant variances from the strict application of the one- and two-family residential design standards when it is determined that the intent of the standards have been incorrectly interpreted, the standards do not apply to the particular project, or enforcement of the standards cause unnecessary hardship. So here's the home as it currently exists. The petitioner is proposing to remove this front porch and install an addition which would match the width and roof line of the principal structure. And here is a rendering of the proposed addition. So here's the street view, or what it looked like from the street. And here is the home from the side view with the addition. And according to the application, the primary reason for the variance request is that the current porch is faulty and in need of major repair to secure the building integrity. As such, they are proposing to remove the existing porch, pour foundation, and rebuild as a building addition rather than reestablish the porch. The petitioner states that this is the best, most structurally sound option, and without doing this, the porch will never be properly repaired and will continue to have maintenance issues, causing continued hardship. The petitioner also feels that this project would improve the curb appeal of the property, as the porch is currently in disrepair and the renovation would fit the current landscape of the neighborhood, as the other homes, including the home directly across the street, have similar styles to what is being proposed. Staff evaluated the proposal and the impact on the design of the addition in regard to the purpose and intent of the design standards as they relate to preserving its architectural integrity, as well as the potential impact on adjacent properties, the neighborhood character, and the curb appeal of the block. And staff feels that the addition as proposed would not preserve the architectural integrity of the home as it would now lack a front porch, which is not consistent with the character of the home's original style. On this block, 14 of the 16 homes are of an architectural style that utilizes a formal front porch element. 10 have similar porch styles, and 4 have dissimilar porch styles, and only 2 do not include a porch feature at all. One of which has a front garage door facade, and the home's front facade is not visible. The other has previously been remodeled in 2006 prior to the adoption of the design standards. And staff feels that the addition as proposed could potentially adversely affect the neighborhood character, as the lack of a front porch causes the home to be inconsistent with the majority of the homes in the immediate vicinity and may encourage additional inappropriate renovations, which could further change the character and curb appeal of the neighborhood. The zoning ordinance does not provide guidelines for making the determination of unnecessary hardship. However, staff feels that the enforcement of the standards does not cause an unnecessary hardship because they still maintain the option of repairing or maintaining the porch or reconstructing the existing porch. And staff recommends denial of the variance request to permit a front addition at 1112 Arthur Avenue with the finding that The design standards do apply to this particular project because the addition as proposed would significantly change the character of the original home and may adversely affect the neighborhood character or curb appeal of the block.
All right, technical questions. Gary?
I was wondering, is a representative of the applicant here to speak about this, or is there nobody to speak for this, for applicant?
I don't see them
Okay.
here.
Did the staff receive any kind of response from the meetings that the 8 people that they mailed to this to?
No.
Response. The last question I have is, according to what I think I read in the staff report, the proposed windows would be in compliance with code,
Yes,
right?
that's correct. The addition, the front of the addition and the sides of the addition would have 25% window area, which is what's required by the design standards.
Okay, thank you.
Other technical questions? John?
Could we go back to the picture of the house as it is now? Are they do you know if they're planning on keeping the big trees in front of the porch because...
Which block everything anyway.
Yeah, 'cause I was going to say, I don't know how we can make a judgment on it, you know, because the front of the house isn't visible as it is now.
They didn't mention their plans for the landscaping around it at all, but I mean, they could cut it down at any point.
I can't imagine.
If they're going to do,
in that area.
if they're going to do the addition, they would probably have to remove the tree.
Yeah, that's...
Well, you
And
can-
unfortunately, we didn't take shots from up and down the block, but you can kind of see on the bottom right hand and the upper left hand, you can see that porch element. Can't really see it, I guess you can see it on the top one and the bottom one again, and see the same type of element next to it. Brian had mentioned a majority, I think over 60% or something like that. 14 of the 16 homes have the same type of porch element.
They just looking at the photos, though, the porch looks like it's ready to fall off on its own.
Well,
So I can understand where they're coming from as far as...
the issue with the
structural
design
integrity.
standards is putting the addition on rather than repairing the porch.
Other technical questions? All right, seeing none, anyone here from the audience to speak to this item today? Going once, going twice. Okay, public commentary is closed. Back to the commission for discussion. Gary?
I'm sorry, I guess I'm speaking a lot today, but anyhow. I personally do not see any case to grant the variance with the 3 categories. There's no compelling case to, in my opinion, to grant the variance, so I'm going to agree with the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Other comments? Ed and then John?
Yeah, I guess I tend to disagree, agree with Gary in the sense that maintaining your home stinks. I mean, nobody likes doing that. Nobody likes spending money on stuff like this. I get it. But that argument, I don't think, rises to the level of the overrides that we have within the code. I mean, I think that there's some maybe a valid point to be made on some other things here, and I do kind of wish that the petitioner was here. I guess it's hard to evaluate these sorts of items when the petitioner isn't here to really state their case, because how does this work as far as the landscaping is concerned? What is their rationale for the flat roof line throughout the entire thing? I mean, there are some things that I think you might be able to solve here that would make this a win-win for everyone, but without them here, it's hard to say that. So I guess I don't have any other choice but to vote against variance here.
Thank you. John?
Kind of along the same lines that you were just saying, without someone here to discuss the points that the questions that we probably all have and whatnot, it's hard to support this, so.
Big part of me wants to support what the petitioner wants, but they're not here to really...
Yeah, if they aren't here to state their case, we can't get answers
Yeah.
to some of these questions that we have, so.
Robert?
Just a comment, it mentions about hardship. Well, if he's going to be putting all that addition on, it's going to cost him as much as it would to do the porch anyway. So why wouldn't he do the porch? That's why I don't understand where the hardship would come in on that, so I'd vote against.
All right. Any
I'll
other
make a
discussion?
motion. What do we have to move here?
I think you have to move to support
So I'll move.
variance.
I'll move in support of the variance.
So if you, an aye vote
Right.
approves it, nay vote against.
Everybody
Second
understand?
that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we support the granting of the variance and vote accordingly when your name comes up.
Wade,
No, no.
Weigert,
No.
Nollenberger,
No.
Bowen,
No.
Hens,
No.
Cummings,
No.
Wojtek.
No.
Motion denied, 7-0.
Okay. Moving on to item number 4, approval of a conditional use permit and plan development for a limited venue festival site located at the southwest corner of Ripper Road and South Washburn Street. I think we saw this last time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
This was on the agenda last time, but was tabled till this meeting. Not tabled, but held to this meeting. This is a conditional use and plan development request for a limited venue festival site. Ford Festival Park is the name. Slide, you can see here the entire park is located in this section of property. So it's important to point out that there's 2 jurisdictions here. So this dash line is the city limit. You have the town of Nakai jurisdiction and the city of Oshkosh jurisdiction. So I just point that out. A conditional use permit and plan development is required for this type of use for a festival grounds or limited venue festival site because it is zoned M1, and the plan development also requires the plan development approval. This was originally approved in 2005 for the original plan development for the Country USA event. It was relocated in 2006 from the County Sunnyview Park grounds to the Ford Festival Park. The entire campus, go to the next one, it's a little bit hard to see, but it's outlined in red here. The entire campus is about 260 acres, but most of that is in the town. Just about 200 is in the town, 64 is located in the city. It was originally approved in 2005. There was a 10-year sunset clause on that, and also a clause that it would be re-reviewed sort of mid-use. The organizers did come back to the city of Oshkosh in 2011 and had their mid-year review, but it is now 2016, and so their CUP PD will be expiring, I guess, this year, and they're reinstating. So it has been 10 years in use. The 2 major events out at the festival site have been Country USA and Rock USA, but there have been third events. The original conditional use permit did permit a third event out there as well. Generally, I believe it's been a soccer tournament, but there have been others. The festival site itself is kind of segregated, and I'll go to the map. The map's a little bit difficult to see here, but I mean, you can kind of see it. It is segregated into the areas for parking, camping, and the main fairgrounds where you have your concert venues and your vending activities. It has been in operation, as I said, for 10 years. Country USA has been their biggest event out there, pulling in probably 40,000 people, about 2,500 campers. Rock USA is, I would say, is the second largest event. That's pulled in around 23,000 people and a little over 2,000 campers. Both events have about 1,000 event staff on the grounds daily. Our comprehensive plan for the city portions of the site recommend commercial use. The town sections in our comprehensive plan recommend residential use. Star Show Presents, who's the petitioner, they have worked with and received approvals from the town of Nakai and Winnebago County for the limited venue festival site prior to coming to the city. So the area is now within the city limits, and they have negotiated a new 10-year lease, so that would run to 2026. Staff doesn't feel that the use of the subject property for the additional 10 years would have any long-term negative impacts on our growth. The closest commercial development is about a quarter of a mile away, and the closest residential development is more than a half mile away to the north. However, we are recommending another 10-year time frame for the conditional use permit, and we'll get into conditions a little later that would allow us to re-review it during that time frame as well. But as with the original plan development, we are recommending a limited number of events on the site. Again, Country USA and Rock USA are the 2 main events, and there was always a third event that was approved out there, but the details of that event were not necessarily as concrete as the 2 main events. So we are going to be recommending a limitation of 2 events, which is 1 less than original. but we are also going to be recommending that any more than 2 events, so 3 or more events, could be approved with approval by the police department, the fire department, and the community development department. Basically, we feel that additional events over the 2 that are known with those unknown details would require additional analysis and possible site improvements and most likely operational modifications. Possibly, as the events in the grounds could be very large, potentially create a lot of impacts for the city and the county's ability to provide service, primary police and EMS service. Giving just a carte blanche for more than the 2 known events is not something that's supportable, but allowing the community development department, the police department, and the fire department to review any additional events beyond the 2, especially in relation to the type of event, the timing, so they don't coincide with other events in the city, kind of diffusing our services, that we can't service all of the different events, as well as the availability of special equipment such as lighting, squads, barriers, etc. Those are acceptable to police, fire, and community development. We feel that they probably wouldn't have to come back through the Plan Commission City Council to add those events. Access to the site right now is off of 4 different drive accesses. 3 are in the town and the county. Only 1 is within the city, and that's the main event access coming off of Washburn. That is a very large drive. It's about 100 feet wide, where our code would limit driveways to 35 feet. They received a base standard modification and access control variance for that in 2006. That's going to be required once again as update to the plan development. Additionally, paving right now is only existing in the approach to the property, about 35 feet back. City code requires all drive areas to be paved. However, it is not uncommon for venues such as this to have, that are used very infrequently, to not have the paved access routes. The city also has historically been concerned with tracking of mud and debris onto the city streets, especially when there always seems to be a major rain event. So, as we had with the previous approvals, we'll be making a recommendation that the mud and debris from the site be cleaned by the petitioner within 24 hours of the end of the daily event, and if they fail to, you have to bring donuts. The failure to do that, the city would clean that and bill back the property owner or the event organizer. The other access that I had said are primarily on Ripple. They're for campers, as well as entertainers and staff for the festival grounds. The main access way on South Washburn is mainly for the daily access of event goers, but the area also, as I had mentioned, includes some area of camping to the north of the entry and some parking lots. These areas for camping are seeded right now. Again, these are not hard surface areas as well. Again, that is not unusual for event centers and festival grounds, but a base standard modification is going to be needed for those unpaved parking areas. And during the 10 years of operation, the use has been monitored pretty close by the city and the county. When they did their mid-year review, 5 years after they were established, several conditions were added, and those are going to be added as recommendations here as well. But those were things including lighting on South Washburn, temporarily reducing speeds on Washburn to 25 miles per hour, caution lighting in the form of temporary message boards, enhanced law enforcement presence, primarily to deal with traffic and pedestrians. So additionally, working with the event organizers, they have worked, and the city has worked with sort of satellite parking lots, sort of up at the outlet mall, and there's other satellite lots around where event goers will park, and then they generally walk to the site or get rides to the site. They've worked with those lots to provide shuttling, bus contracts to the festival grounds, and then to further try to discourage the off-site parking and the pedestrian movements, they instituted a safety band program that charges an additional fee to event goers who don't park on-site, but choose to park off-site, to try to discourage that. It has helped a little. There's still off-site parkers, I guess. Other items that were included in the original conditional use permit and in the 2011 included traffic, pedestrian safety, security, and lighting plan, health plan, also a bond being posted to ensure compliance with said plans. The event grounds had to be monitored for refuse collection. There was the stipulation of the dirt and debris in the right-of-way, and the city did retain the ability to re-review the terms and conditions of the PD and the CUP as needed as they relate to public safety. So once again, we are going to be recommending approval with the CUP and PD, and we're going to incorporate all of those. And let me go down here. This is sort of a promotional map, but we're going to be recommending the same conditions with a few augmentations, and you can see those in gray. So the use of the festival grounds expires in 2026, that only 2 events, Country USA and Rock USA, are allowed per calendar year, not to exceed 7 days in duration, that any future events over the 2 listed require separate review and approval by Oshkosh Police, Fire, and Community Development Departments. Other than the use of the site 7 days prior and 7 days after the event, no open storage would be permitted out there. The access control variance for the driveway to exceed 35 feet. Base turn modification be granted to allow the driveway located out of the right-of-way to remain unpaved. The condition for dirt and debris to be cleaned up within 24 hours. A base standard modification to allow the unpaved parking and internal drives. That the traffic, pedestrian, safety, security, lighting plan be submitted annually to the police department for review and approval. Same thing with the health plan to the county health department. That those plans need to be submitted before March 15th to give the agencies time to review them before the events. A bond be posted by the organizer. The event grounds, including parking and camping, be monitored to refuse to match their health plan, and that the city again retains the ability to review the terms and conditions as needed for public safety.
All right, thank you, sir. Technical questions, Carl?
And what is the purpose of the 10-year expiration date?
Well, the main purpose is it coincides with the lease agreement they have with the county and the town, but also that if development occurs out to that area to that extent, there may need to be other improvements, possibly to the street, possibly to the grounds, possible buffering.
Okay, that makes sense.
So a re-review at that time would be, make the most sense.
Other technical questions? Go ahead, Gary.
David, condition number 11, it says all plans should be submitted to all respective agencies. What's the respective agency? Is that the city of Oshkosh?
It's the police, fire, community development, and the county health department.
Okay. My other comment is condition 14 seems a little bit weak. I would personally prefer to have a specific review date, say in 5 years, to see if there's any need to update something that doesn't even have to deal with public safety. It may be something other than public safety.
You could add a re-review time in here, but we would like to keep the ability to re-review based on public safety at any time.
Okay, I agree, but perhaps there are other issues that are not public safety issues that need to be dealt with.
And we have done, just as a note, we did do that the first time around. I think we were supposed to do a 2 or 5 year review the first time around.
And it never
We did
happened.
that in 2011.
No, it happened, just that there wasn't anything, I don't think there was anything significant that came out of it. So we have, what, 10 years of experience on this particular site? You can add that condition.
Staff doesn't feel it's very
Unless
necessary.
all of the commissioners feel it's a need, I don't really want
We
to
can discuss it during our discussion time. Other technical questions? All right, seeing none, let's go to the public. Anybody here from the public to speak to this item today? If so, the microphone is yours. Once,
Applicant.
going twice. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, Gary, do you want to bring up what you brought up earlier?
No, sir.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, let's call a roll.
Wade,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Nolenberger.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Hintz.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, we're moving on to item 5A. How do you want to do this?
Sure, well,
One at a time, or?
not sure how the PowerPoint is done, but let's take them both at the same time.
Okay.
And then you can do a recommendation.
All right,
since
so-
they're very related.
5A is zone change from R1 Single Family Residence District to R1 PD Single Family Residence District with a planned development overlay for multiple properties on the 1,000 to 1,100 blocks of North Westfield Street and the 1,100 to 1,200 blocks of North Eagle Street to Evergreen Retirement Community. And then 5B is conditional use permit development plan review for the use and development plan for multiple properties on the 1,000 to 1,100 blocks of North Westfield and the 1,100 to 1,200 blocks of North Eagle Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's quite a mouthful, and I will have the next mouthful. But this is, the first aspect is a rezone request from the R1 zoning district to the R1 Plan Development zoning district. It's basically for Evergreen Retirement Community. And you can kind of see it here outlined. You can see the R1 designation. Directly to this area encompasses 6 separate parcels. It's a little hard to see the property lines in there, but there's 6 parcels, including 2 residential lots. Basically on the 1,100 blocks of North Westfield and North Eagle, which Hawk runs here and Eagle runs here. Around there, you can see to the south is public parkland and the creek. Basically to the east and west, you have primarily single-family uses, and to the north, you have Davies Childcare, which is an R2 zone, but it's a commercial land use. So again, 6 lots, about 37 acres. It has been developed over time as a campus setting. It has had some type of single-family residential zoning designation since it was annexed into the city in 1952. So quite a long time ago. The property or portions thereof, as it's grown over time, has been used as a retirement community. It used to be known as Evergreen Manor, beginning in the mid-1960s. But after multiple zoning ordinance rewrites and amendments and changes over time, the retirement community was designated as a conditional use and approved in 1983. Over the last 30 years, the community has had several expansions. The retirement community has several expansions and additions, required multiple additions and amendments to their conditional use permit. There are probably 5 or 6 that I had dug up, and some of the records way far back were difficult to find. And as well as receiving several variances from the Board of Appeals for current uses. At the present time, Evergreen Retirement Community includes 109 independent living units, 80 assisted living units, and skilled nursing care for 80 residents, located again in about 30 separate structures on this sort of large lot area. So I think I'll go to the aerial photo next. Wash this out, it's pretty dark. But the purpose for the rezoning request is to allow the existing use to continue and expand without the need to perpetually come back for conditional use permit amendments or variances through the boards of appeal that are associated sort of with their incremental development that has taken place over time. The planned development designation provides a mean to functionally consolidate all the cooperative operations of the campus, even though they're on separate parcels, kind of creating a single campus system. It does have diverse primary uses, as I had mentioned earlier, but it has single-family dwellings and multifamily dwellings that are independent, multiple levels of care facilities, as well as a bunch of accessory uses within the buildings and outside of the buildings. The PD designation also affords a mechanism to further develop the campus with new development and new independent living apartments, which we'll get into in a second, on the north end of the campus. It also allows alterations to some of the vehicle and pedestrian access points, redevelopment of the new parking facilities, and the addition onto the Manor building as well. The zoning request is consistent with our comp plan. R1 is residential. This is residential use. Retirement communities are conditional use permits within the R1 district. The planned development designation is beneficial, again, as it provides flexibility needed to allow those expansions and alterations, allows base standard modifications that are important to the campus, especially where you have internal lot lines, but also some of the external ones as well. And the designation is beneficial primarily to the community as it provides the ability to address these items and allow the development to continue, and allows and grants public review through the Plan Commission, through the City Council, and through public comment, neighborhood meetings, so forth. So we are recommending the approval of the zone change from the R1 single-family residence district to the R1 single-family with the plan development overlay. And I'll kind of jump into the next page. So, again, I won't go through these same pictures. This image is a little bit better. Go forward. So this is the campus as drawn out on a plan itself. So you can see without the aerial and all the colors on there that it's quite extensive. There's a lot of internal parking lots, a lot of buildings, interconnections between buildings, interconnections between individual parcels itself. And the petitioner is requesting the plan development and conditional use for the existing community, the entire existing community as it exists today, as well as an expansion independent living apartment building on the north end of the campus, which you can see right here, and it's shown on this plan. Alterations to the vehicle and pedestrian access I had mentioned, redevelopment and new parking lots, and the addition, which you can see at this location, and I'll get a little closer when I get to that. As assuming that the rezone takes place, the plan development obviously can take place right afterwards and then go to the council at the same time. So as I had mentioned, the existing campus included a lot of different activities, and to kind of break those down a little bit more, for the independent living, there's 44 condo-style homes, 22 ranch-style homes, and 48 apartments in the Manor building. Assisted living, there's basically 3 units for that right now, well, more than that, but there's Garden Place and Garden Terrace, which is a residential care apartment complex that has 20 apartments. The Garden Heights and Manor View, which is an ongoing assistance with daily living activities, but not skilled nursing care. That's for 40 private accommodations. And then you have Share Haven, which is located across Westfield. That's a 24-hour supervised and assisted, but not skilled nursing for memory care. And then the skilled nursing, you have Creekview Rehab Center at Evergreen. That's short-term skilled nursing for 22 residents, focused primarily on rehab, and then the residents would go back to their homes. And Creekview North and South, which is long-term skilled nursing for 58 residents, and those are residents with the greatest needs, greatest services. Proposed facility expansion and site improvements are part of the Evergreen's multi-year, multi-phase master plan to kind of update the campus and all its facilities. They have recently renovated their skilled nursing, assisted living, and memory care units, and their immediate plans are what you're going to be talking about tonight, is a new 61-unit independent living apartment building on the north end of campus. As I had mentioned, that is located here. Alter vehicle and pedestrian access for their main parking lot, which is this section. Add a new parking lot next to the new independent living apartment. And then also there's a small canopy over in this area just south of Eagle Street. So those are the major changes that are being proposed. Currently, the site has 285 total employees, about 125 on site at any given time. Resident capacity is 310 residents right now. When the project is complete, resident capacity would be increased to 366 residents, so an increase of about 56. The campus currently contains a total of 228 parking stalls, but that does not include the ones for the individual single-family or ranch-style homes or condo-style homes. They have their own parking. But when the project's complete, the campus would be adding 70 new underground parking stalls under their new addition, 22 new parking stalls in the north parking lot, and 30 stalls in the lot west of Manor, so changing that around. But basically, you end up with a net increase of 122 spaces for the overall campus. So, as the site has been operating as a retirement community for over 50 years, staff is proposing that the development plan encompass all of the existing improvements, and we're really going to focus this staff report and this presentation on 4 categories that are, and I unfortunately put in the staff report 5, but 4 categories that they're adding or renovating. So one was the independent living apartment building and its associated parking lot, and I can actually go to the next slide, I believe. So this kind of zooms in. So what's hatched out here is the new independent living. This is the associated parking lot that goes along with it. The second item would be alterations to the parking lot here on North Westfield. Goes into the main manor entrance. An addition of an entry canopy at the garden building, which is over just south of North Eagle Street. And then also the addition and facade alteration to the west facade of the manor building, which is this hatched-in area right here. So I'm going to go through kind of each one of those individually. I'll talk about them, and then I'll kind of go through the elevations afterwards, so I'm not flipping back and forth, if that's okay. So again, the building is a 61-unit apartment building. As you can see here, it'll be attached to the manor building and kind of create a courtyard in the middle, a landscape courtyard in the middle. The new structure will be approximately 30,000 square feet. It'll be 3.5 stories tall, 37 foot, or 10 stories or 37 feet tall. It's designed to match and complement the existing facilities, which we'll look at the elevations in a second. But the first floor will be primarily brick, with the upper floors being EIFS facade, cast stone, windowsills and caps, concrete patios and aluminum balconies assemblies, and some HVAC louvers. The new structure also includes 70 underground parking stalls and a drop-off pickup canopy extending into the new parking lot. So you can see the canopy is located here. Parking entry will be coming into the underground spaces, will be coming in here and here, into an existing parking lot and into the reconfigured parking lot. The drop-off canopies on the north being accessed by the new parking lot. There will be quite a number of condo-style and single-family buildings that will be removed from the site to accommodate this expansion. The proposed parking lot on the north side is 22 stalls. 2 of them will be handicapped. It will be accessed through North Westfield Street. There's a 5-foot pedestrian walk that also will be connecting the entrances to the building to the public walk on Westfield. As I had mentioned, it'll have a drop-off pickup canopy, and also you can see sort of a Y-turn device located here. If you look on the previous map, the original thought was to put a turnaround. These are required for fire department access. This turnaround is about 90 feet wide, which is bigger than a cul-de-sac. Fire code requires that. As an alternative, fire code would allow a Y-turn. The petitioners are proposing to do this, and I'm calling it a Y-turn. I don't know if it's officially called that. Petitioners would choose to do this Y-turn. It takes away a base standard modification to a setback that would be required with the large turnaround. It reduces impervious surface and adds some more green space to the site, sort of at their entry to their new building. So they are going to be going with that Y-turn. But other site improvements include the construction of a wet detention basin, which you can see here to the west of the building. Also a 360 square foot transformer and generator pad, which will be screened with a solid fence, and when we get to the landscape plan, you'll see with extensive landscaping. They're also adding a new 5-foot tall, 40 square foot brick-faced monument sign at the parking lot entrance, which you can see right here where my dot is, and that we'll see at the end of the, sort of as I go through the rest of the PowerPoint. So extensive landscaping is also being proposed all around this site, parking lot, especially at the parking lot perimeter, the building foundations, and as screening mechanisms. All the proposed improvements associated with the independent living building and associated parking lot meet zoning code setback standards. However, the height is 2 feet over our maximum 35 feet, so they are going to be required to have a base standard modification for that 2 feet to go to 37. They also required to have an access control variance for lateral clearance. As you can see, this driveway entering the site, because Westfield is considered a collector street, the access control ordinance requires a 75-foot lateral clearance. And you've heard this probably many times with a lot of projects. Because of the infrequency, the small lot, the infrequency of use, they're proposing about 30-foot lateral clearance. They did remove some parking stalls here. It was shorter when it was first presented, but that is a car length and a half of stacking before you get to the backup of the vehicles backing out of the parking stalls, and staff is in support of that access control variance. The monument sign is also going to require a base standard modification, as this entire campus, even though it's 37 acres, would be limited to one 16-square-foot sign because of the R1 zoning. They're proposing 2 signs, this new one and one that's going to be relocated. Landscaping and lighting would have to meet all code standards. Staff is recommending in the detention basin area the more natural style of detention involving emergent plants in the safety shelf and native plants in the side slopes rather than the use of riprap, especially in this situation where you're in a residential area. We really feel that that is important. So I'll kind of go to the next item that deals with the independent living expansion and that parking lot. The next is going to be an alteration to this, what I'm calling the southern parking lot. The existing parking lot is 29 stalls. It's got circular, two-way circular access. It serves as the main entrance to the Manor building, and that is proposed to be redeveloped and expanded as shown on the plans. They would be adding 30 stalls for a total of 59 stalls. 4 of those would be handicap. So as you can see here, I'll kind of explain it. So it's going into a one-way circulation. So you would enter the site from the southern driveway, and this external lane, as you can see by the angled parking, becomes a one-way traffic movement going to the canopy, the drop-off canopy, and then continuing where you could exit the site or you could enter back into this two-way section, which the majority of the parking is in this two-way section. So as you enter, you could either enter into here and then exit back out, or you could circle around and then enter back in. So a little confusing that you have two-way in the center and then one-way circular, but it's laid out in such a way that it functions and gives a lot of options for people dropping off or people coming into parking to find a parking space without having to go back out into the street. Excuse me, where I am here. So also, that interior two-way section is going to have 45 parking stalls, and there's 14 stalls located on the one-way section. There is direct pedestrian access to the building entrance, and you can kind of see that here. It's leading through the parking lot and then exits back out onto the street, so that will be striped over the drive lanes and be sidewalk where it's not drive lanes. And that would be, again, 5 feet. There's a 6-foot, 6-inch linear island that runs the length separating the two-way and the one-way islands. That's a nice area for landscaping, but it also defined traffic movements. There's also 9 other islands within that parking lot itself. So plenty of room for internal landscaping and meeting our code requirements for islands. The new drop-off and pickup canopy, it's going to be a flat roof, 14-foot tall structure supported by cultured stone columns. It's designed, again, to complement the existing building and provide sort of that formal covered entrance for guests and residents. As with the northern parking lot, extensive landscaping is being proposed around this parking area, again, especially at the parking lot perimeter, but also within the islands inside the parking lot itself. Landscaping and lighting would be required to meet code standards, but the conceptual landscape plans appears to be really well designed and appears to be code compliant. We haven't checked it at this point. As with the northern parking lot, that 75 feet also applies to the southern parking lot. As this is a little larger parking lot, the petitioners increased that lateral clearance, not up to the 75-foot level. At this case, it's 36 feet, so a little over 2 car lengths. But again, with the one-way movements and the low volume of traffic coming in and out of there, staff is in support of that access control variance as well. The other thing to point out with this parking lot expansion, there's a 25-foot setback on Westfield, North Westfield Street. The petitioner is proposing an 18-foot setback. Staff is in support of this modification as well. We worked extensively with the petitioner to try to get the largest setback. Originally proposed, I believe it was 10 feet. We did a lot of different work trying to keep that parking lot to be functional and to increase the setback. So what we basically did is got that up to 18 feet, which is, give it to the petitioner, they actually got more than staff got out of it to kind of meet that 25. As this block is a lot of campus, that should have very little of effect on the regular single-family homes and two-family homes on the block. So we have the support of that as well. And then again, there's going to be a relocated sign here within one of the islands of the parking lot, and I'll give you a picture of that. But that sign's a little bit smaller than the other one being proposed. if I can find it here. Well, I'll get to the height when I get to the
Yep,
sign.
no worries. We got time.
All right, wonderful. So the next thing I want to hit is the addition and facade alterations to the Manor Building, and that's located right here on the site. So they're calling it the Commons Addition. That's about 56 feet wide by 80 feet deep, about roughly 5,000 square foot addition. And it will also be a facade upgrade to the west elevation of the Manor Building. It is 30 feet tall, so it meets our height requirements, but it is a single-story building. It's going to house the new chapel for the retirement community campus. It's designed with a gable roof. Will be clad in 3-foot 6-inch cultured stone knee wall extending the full length and full width of the front. But the center, well, and you'll see this in the elevations, the center will also be clad in that cultured stone, about 20 feet of the center of the building. The remainder of the front facade will be IFAS and include 4 ornamental windows. The side facades include same materials. They have larger, oversized windows. Those are, and an entryway, and those are also very functional for the chapel, I suppose. Access to the chapel is going to be provided internally, but also through a couple pedestrian walks, and they're kind of hard to see, but you can see them coming off of the parking lot. The chapel use itself is considered accessory to the retirement community's primary use, and this addition meets all setback requirements. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this garden building entry canopy, and you can see this goes pretty close to the property line out there, although Eagle Street once again stops here. So where you see my where my pointer. So that canopy is 19 foot by 17 foot. It's on the east side of the garden building. Again, as a canopy is used for, it's meant to shelter people coming into the garden building. This is the only element in the PD expansion that's kind of separated from their main primary area, which is more onto the north and west of the Manor Building. Base standard modification is needed for the front yard setback on North Eagle. 25 feet is required. They're proposing about 9 feet 2 inches from the right-of-way. The structure is going to be a steel canopy with pre-finished standing seam metal roof. Support columns will feature that cultured stone again with cast stone caps. The location is unique primarily because of the terminus of the south side of North Eagle Street. It basically terminates here into the campus. This is also part of the campus itself. So it ends at this point. So it's kind of a unique situation because of that transition. So that conformity to the 25-foot front yard setback would appear to be unnecessarily burdensome. That language sounds a lot like Board of Appeals language, and the reason it does sound like that is they went through the Board of Appeals in 2013. They received a variance for the same setback, but they had not built it in that time frame, and a variance is only good for 12 months. 6 months or 12 months. So they're including it in the plan development now to get the base standard modification, but that's a good example of how they had continually come back through the Board of Appeals and the Plan Commission for expansions. I'm going to just kind of really briefly go through these elevations. They don't come out very good on the screen, but they're a lot better in your packets. So this is I believe the large independent living addition onto the north side of the building. You can see it's 3 stories, the first floor being that cultured stone. You can see the balconies on there and the patio and the extensive windows, flat roof structure. If you could read it, you could see it's 37 feet high. This is the chapel addition, or the Commons addition, I guess it's called. You can see it's got the cultured stone knee wall and that large centerpiece also being cultured stone. It has the 4 ornamental windows on the front. The side elevations here again with those oversized windows, and also I believe a row of windows here at the front are on there. This image right here is showing the canopy or the drop-off area, very highly stylized, architecturally stylized, for the Manor Addition coming off of that west parking lot. I believe this is it as well. I'll kind of go to the next one. So these are more elevations of the independent living. So again, you can see it's consistent, looks very similar to some of the newer developments that we've seen in the city and downtown, high quality construction, and staff believes very aesthetically pleasing. This would be the entry canopy off that north parking lot, much less prominent than the one on the west parking lot, but still a very nice feature. And then these are some more elevations of the other. It's a large, odd-shaped building, so you get a lot of elevations. This doesn't come out very good here on the screen as well, but this is the conceptual landscape plan. It's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see just by the amount of landscaping being placed in these parking lot islands around the perimeter, you can see it kind of focused, and there's a fence here around the transformer pad to screen that. A lot of foundation plantings going in around the building. So again, it'll have to meet code, but we wanted to give you an idea that the petitioners are not, I don't know how to put it, but not skimping on their landscaping, that's for sure, at least in staff's opinion. The generator enclosure fence, just sort of a detail, and there's two signs. So this is going to be the new sign for the site itself. Monument sign, capped, very low impact, and this is the new sign that's being, or the existing sign that's being relocated into the island. And if I can find those heights on here, I can tell you it's a little bit shorter. And maybe I didn't even put it in the staff report. Oh, it's a little bit taller actually. It's 6 feet 2 inches tall, and it's 50 square feet, and you can kind of see the image of it now. Doesn't match the existing or the future or the new monument sign, but they are separated kind of by the parking lots, and the existing sign as is today is a high quality sign, not overly large, and fits in well with the campus and the neighborhood. So with that very long
That may be the longest one we've ever heard.
I probably said more before.
Pretty well.
Kathy wasn't poking me. But we believe the proposed conditional use permit request with conditions won't have a negative impact on the surrounding area, be harmonious with the character of the general vicinity, and not be detrimental to the neighborhood or the city as a whole. And we are recommending approval with conditions, and I can read them. Base standard modification to allow independent living to be 37 feet high. The natural style of detention basin be utilized. Access control variance for both the north and the south parking lots. Base standard modification to allow the two monument signs, one at 5'4" and one at 6'2". Base standard modification will allow the front yard setback on Westfield to be 18 feet rather than 25. Base standard modification to allow the canopy on North Eagle Street to be 9'2" rather than 25, and also that cross-access and parking agreements be established between the multiple lots within.
Woo! That man a beverage.
Shouldn't have any questions, because I covered everything.
Any technical questions? Carl?
Should these two be voted on separately, or?
That's an okay question.
Yeah, you could probably
Yeah,
vote on
I
it
should probably do
separately.
All right. Gary?
I'm not sure what 5A is. Is that just a approval of a planned development?
5A is the zone change, to put the planned development over the top of the property. Yep. And
Development, and B is basically all the
details.
modifications you talked about.
Correct. The details of their development.
Numbers on page 15, for the landscaping stuff. I can't read them, but what's the open space? The number of square feet for open space compared to older area? Do you have those figures?
Well, we can pull them out of the large plans. Do you have those, Darren?
We'll go ahead and assume it meets code.
Well, we haven't checked it against code. We would do that during regular site plan review.
At the site plan review, we'll
Correct.
unearth if it doesn't meet code.
And I believe, and the petitioner could probably answer this, I believe those numbers on this section are going to only be covering that expansion area on the north side. So they're not going to be taking in all the existing landscaping that's around the site currently as well.
Okay, I think I had another question, but I forgot it, so I'm going to basically skip.
Any other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go to the public. Anybody here from the audience to speak to this item today? Now's your chance. Going once, going twice, 3 times back to the commission for
Motion
discussion.
to approve item A.
Okay. We moved and seconded to approve the first item
Zone change.
5A. That's all right. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, seeing none, let's, oh, pardon me, Steve.
I will be voting present because I'm a board member of Evergreen Village.
Thank you. All right, let's call the roll then.
Gray,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Nolenberger,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Cummings,
Present.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-0, or
601.
601. I'm sorry.
All right, let's go on to item 5B or VB, depending on how you want to state it.
And I can answer Gary's question
Okay.
quick. Of the little over 3.1 acres of the development area, approximately 60% of that's going to be open space.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Just what, go ahead, Carl.
Oh, somebody make a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded. Just a comment, I'm very impressed with this plan, and I'm also very impressed with David's ability to go through this plan.
We were spellbound.
Yes. Any other discussion on the motion?
I could dance next time. That might
All right, seeing none, call the roll, please.
Don't.
Gray,
You haven't
Aye.
seen it.
Weigert,
Aye.
You wouldn't want to.
Nolenberger,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Cummings,
Present.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Carried 6-0-1.
All right, is there anything else for us, gentlemen, that we need to be aware of before we adjourn this august gathering?
Motion to approve it. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
One
we're
thing I
done.
would add, the sign code, we're adjourned, so
Oh.
you can run away if you want. The sign code section has been drafted. We're going to be
Zoning?
bringing that through probably a joint meeting with the working group and the planning